I'm going to start my debate in 3, 2, 1. If you don't have something nice to say, then don't say it. The Prime Minister paints a terrifying picture of a runaway AI bubble of stolen data and a corporate machine driven by venture capitalists who force product releases to clear their quarterly metrics. They want you to believe that if OpenAI had simply stayed a pristine, kept private nonprofit, the world would be an utopia of slow, deliberate, pro-social technology. But their model lives in a financial fantasy world. They tell you that they don't need equity financing because they can just take out loans or survive on grants and foundations. Let's be completely direct here. You cannot finance the massive multi-billion-dollar computing clusters required to train modern AI models or on a philanthropic grants or bank debt. Banks do not cash flow pre-revenue research operations that have a higher probability of failure. By regretting this transition, government is effectively arguing for an alternate timeline where the most important technology of our century is built entirely behind closed corporate walls, with zero public benefits mandate whatsoever. The government's case rests on two flawed mechanisms regarding of how OpenAI behaves under these different structures. First one is the capital fallacy and patient investor myth. The Prime Minister argues that a capped profit structure attracts wealthy technocrats and patient investors who don't care about the quick returns. This fundamentally misunderstands the sheer scale of capital AI requires. We are talking about tens of billions of dollars for data center, compute, and elite engineering talent. Patient philanthropies do not write $10 billion checks without an expectation of uncapped upside to match the existential risk. Without the Public Benefit Corporation or PBC transition, OpenAI's capital pipeline would have dried up entirely. Second is the premature release and the safety misdirection. They claim that investor pressure forced a premature release of ChatGPT in 2022 and created a dangerous race to the bottom. Let's look at the reality. The alternative to OpenAI releasing models publicly is not that the technology stands still for 300 years while the regulators scratch their heads. The alternative is that the proprietary tech grants develop this in total secrecy. OpenAI's strategy of public releases allowing the world to interact with GPT 3.5 and GPT-4 is precisely what triggered the global regulatory awakening. It gave the governments the data and the time to construct frameworks before a true AGI arrives. Slowing down OpenAI ensures that a completely unaligned, purely commercial actor wins it. Our core thesis is simple. The transition to a public benefit corporation is the only viable mechanism to keep a pro-social mission alive in a hyper-competitive, high-capital reality. When OpenAI transitioned to PBC, it legally institutionalized it within a framework that can actually survive the market. There are 5 reasons why the structural evolution is superior for human dignity and long-term societal stability. The first one, or A, the legal weaponization of the charter. Unlike a traditional for-profit corporation that has a singular, legally binding duty to maximize shareholder value above all else, a public benefit corporation is legally required to balance shareholder wealth with its specific public benefit charter. This is a profound structural defense against corporate capture. If a traditional investor tries to sue OpenAI for prioritizing safety checks of a quarterly dividend, PPC structure provides a legal shield. It allows the boards to explicitly say, we are legally protected in delaying this product because our charter dictates that AGI must benefit all of the humanity. The government's model provides no shield because without capital, you have no seat at the table to begin with. B, retaining leverage over the global frontier. AI development is an exponential curve, right? So whoever reaches advanced capabilities first set the standard, sets the safety protocols and the ethical baseline for the entire industry. If OpenAI remains shackled to a capped profit model that cannot scale its compute, it would have been rapidly overtaken by purely commercial actors who have absolutely no public interest obligations. By scaling effectively through a PBC structure, OpenAI maintains its position as the industry trendsetter. When OpenAI implements safety filters, data provenance standards, teaming protocols, the rest of the volatile markets is forced to copy to remain competitive and exist in the market. We use market force to enforce safety standards across the entire ecosystem. C. Preventing the true dictatorship of no alternative. The Prime Minister speaks passionately about the global poor being excluded, but let's look at what happens when the technology is kept slow and weak. An expensive, exclusive AI developed solely behind closed corporate doors becomes the ultimate tool. Elite entrenchment by utilizing a scale PBC model. OpenAI can subsidize the free tiers of its model, distributing high-grade intelligence, educational tools, and coding capability to billions of people globally, once again for free. This is a true democratization of technology. And D, the geopolitical security imperative. The alternative timeline where OpenAI remains a cash-starved, slow-moving non-profit is not an empty vacuum. If Western mission-driven institutions fall to scale their computing power due to self-imposed character restrictions, the technological frontier is immediately seized by state-backed subsidized illiberal actors. AI development operates an absolute physical compute scaling laws. By using the PBC model to draw in deep-pocketed global institutional capital, OpenAI ensures that democratic public interest is aligned entities remain at the bleeding edge of the AI race. This grants them the leverage to bake ethical guardrails, human rights protections, and democratic values directly into the base models that the rest of the world will inevitably depend upon. E. The practical allocation of abundance, funding a global commons with commercial revenue. The Prime Minister argues that for-profit structures inherently hurt the global poor. This overlooks the fundamental economics of software development. The cost of running inference, powering the servers, every time someone asks the AI questions, is incredibly high. A nonprofit relying on finite grants would be forced to highly restrict the access of charge a premium just to keep the lights on, turning the AI into an elite boutique tool. By utilizing the market rather than hiding from it, the PBC structure turns corporate profits into an engine that funds a global public utility. If we lose the compute rates, we cede the entire architecture of global intelligence to actors who have zero regard for human rights or civil liberties. Dear judges, we cannot wish away the material realities of capital intensity. We must govern them. The PBC transition is the only mature, structurally sound way to ensure that the fire of AGI remains a tool for human flourishing rather than a monopoly asset. For that, we proudly oppose the motion. Thank you.